Looks nice in your new flat.
Thank you. Just moved.
Okay, so all of you, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, I collect that the Sarah is from Lebanon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi.
So,
Yeah.
welcome to the club.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I hope that it didn't make you wake up a little early.
No, actually, I'm 1 hour after Switzerland, so it's 11 here. Yes.
Oh, right. Okay, not that bad.
Not bad, no.
Okay. So, since this is your first time, would you mind to share your little story why you are here?
Actually, I met Wara's husband, who was my neighbor when I was a kid, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. And we were having coffee, and we were talking about meditation, and I was telling him about my meditation experiences, and he told me about the group, and he said, if you'd like to join, I would add you. And I said, please, I would love to try. And he told me about Wara's experiences and his experiences and what they do also in Switzerland and the little community. And so, yeah, so I shared my experiences and he did. And we said, okay, let's try. And then Wara sent me a message, an email with the information, and I joined.
Okay. So when you say that your meditation experiences, what do you mean by that?
I've been trying to meditate for a long time. Because I do yoga. I've been doing yoga for a long time, and I go a lot on retreats and workshops, and so I've done some meditation. I try to do it daily at home. I've had some amazing experiences, and I've had some experiences that were like where I actually just stayed sitting, but I wasn't really in meditation. But I try to be consistent, at least for 20 minutes. Yeah, and I
like that word you mentioned, consistent.
Yes, I try to. Consistency is key, even when it's like, you just like, that's it, I can't do it. I just stay.
Can you share a little bit what meditation do you mean?
Well, I just I do more like a mantra meditation, but I've tried different things, because when I'm with different teachers, we end up trying different meditations. Like, I don't know if I just want to give them names like Vipassana or focused or mantra or guided. But every time has been different. And here at home, most of the time I try to do guided meditation because of the noise. Or I just put a very loud air conditioner or some kind of loud noise so that I don't hear anything else. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well done. Good. Okay. Well, so welcome. And this is a group that we have been practicing for some times now. I think year 3 now, if I remember correctly. We meet every month. And this is a platform that we come and practice. Okay, yes. And we do not call it a yoga meditation or vipassana meditation. It is just a meditation. Okay, so that's why we call it. Vodafone calls it distant learning mindfulness meditation. Okay, so it's a distant and also learning and also mindfulness and meditation. Right? So we are living in a very far distance, and we are all eager to learn about mindfulness. Yeah? And in order to learn itself, we have to be very mindful that I have this session coming up. Yeah? Because the word mindfulness in a Buddhist term is called a sati. That means remembering. Remembering that what is going on. Okay. And now here we are learning meditation of mindfulness. That means we are remembering that I am meditating, right? And then when we are remembering, do you think that the remembering is happening in the past or remembering is happening in the present?
In the present.
Oh, yes. Every time when we remember, we are in the present moment. Yeah. So practice of a mindfulness meditation is basically learning to be in the moment, remembering to be here and now. Isn't that simple? Yeah. Remembering to be here and now in the present moment, not in the past, not in the future. And that's the practice that we learn. And that's what we are basically learning to be. And that is famously known as mindfulness. And we can't be mindful. Do you know why?
Why?
We can't be mindful because we have a full of stuff in our mind. When we have full of stuff going on in our mind, then we cannot be mindful of the present. When we are not in the present, then we are in trouble. Yeah? And in the present moment, what do we have? We have the present moment of this body, and then, if possible, this mind. And all what we are learning to bring this mind to the present moment, here and now. Yeah? And that moment, when we are aware of the present moment, what happens? We don't have too much stuff in our mind. We have only one thing. We are concentrating on one thing, focusing on one object, thinking about one thing. And that moment, we become mindful. And that's how benefit comes to us. Relaxation, calmness, feel so good, lifted, and so on. Okay. And the thing that is in a present moment all the time, that we can see, we can feel, we can work with it, is the breath. Okay. And that's why we use the breath as the primary object, a home base that we try to keep our mind on it, working with that. Okay. So with this, before we go further, let's practice. Okay. Sitting in a comfortable position, collect your body and the mind in present moment. With the gong, I will practice. Okay, so find your comfortable position. If you're sitting on a chair, making sure your feet are on the ground, fully touched. Or if you are sitting cross-legged, then just making sure you're sitting comfortably. And gently close your eyes to feel the entire body as you are sitting. Embrace your body as it is sitting here and now. Feel the entire body. And if there is any tensions, just let them relax. It's like you are leaving your weight on a chair or a cushion. And as you're observing this sitting body, we will be able to observe the natural breath. Breath coming in, going out. Without thinking about it, but feeling inside. When we feel it, we can feel in our abdomen, we can feel it in a chest or in a nose. Without putting any pressure, simply observing the breath that going through the body, in the body, and coming out. And wherever you feel the breath, a natural breath, and it's happening in a similar area much of the time, and you become conscious of it, using that particular place as a place to settle the mind down, a home base. And observing that particular place that you feel comfortable, and observe the breath, able to observe the breath, being there. So making sure that your body is fully relaxed, there is no tension in your mind, and letting the mind rest on the body by feeling the body and keeping the mind with the breath. And while we are resting on the breath, if mind is distracted, observing the distracted mind, acknowledging it, and making a mental note that if that's thinking, rather than going with the thoughts, the thinking of the story, just thinking and back. Or if that's aches and pains, observing it, aches and pains, and back. Back to breath. So watching all the thoughts as the river flow, all other sensations as the river flow. And we are sitting at the bank of the river and watching the river flow. So breathing in, breathing out, and observing all of the sensations and all of the thoughts or distractions objectively, like a river flow. And with the sound of the gong, slowly come out from a meditation. Okay, so welcome back to the session again. Before going into the further discussion or explanation on the principles and teachings, anyone wants to ask or share from your previous practices or this practice? Welcome. Hmm? It seems like too early to ask the question. Anyway, okay. So last session I gave a few tasks to perform, right? Be mindful of 15 seconds of your activities, mindful of yeah, at least of 1 or 2 activities in a day or a week, like eating and kind of like that. Right, so a few days ago, I was in the hospital teaching meditation. So we had attesta classes for the hospital staffs. And then that was the 3rd session. So I went to join as well. And during the practice and during the sharing time, everybody had similar sharing. They were saying that somebody said after the short breathing meditation, they found they become more calmer. And then meanwhile, they also said that it is very difficult to concentrate on the breath. It is very difficult to concentrate on the breath. Mind is always wandering, goes off to things that to be done or things that is not haven't done. So and that suggests that this body that we think is ours, in fact, it is not. We have no control over it. Right? We cannot control this body to be this or to be that. And meanwhile, the mind that we think we know, and this is me, also difficult to understand. We cannot keep this mind to focus on the breath. If this mind is ours, don't you think that we should be able to keep this mind paying attention to the breath? But both is not to be done. It cannot be done. Mind is always drifting to something else. We want to focus on the breath, but mind is taking us to think about what is going to do in this weekend. What I'm going to do. Or further, what are you doing early morning on a Sunday morning? Waking up early and with a grumpy face and having drink a coffee and sitting, meditating, and goes on. Whereas we are trying to concentrate on the breath, right? So mind itself becomes something else that we have no control over it. Okay, now we see that what we think that we are, in fact, we are not. In reality, we are not, right? So that's why we cannot keep ourselves healthy and beautiful and handsome all the time. The wrinkle begins to start, all in wrinkles, gray hairs coming out. Yeah. And the same with the mind. I want to keep this mind focused on the breath, but it's inevitable. It goes off. And this can be observed, and this can be understood when we try to focus on the breath, then we realize, oh, it's going off all the time. Right? And what happens is that going away is not the trouble. The trouble is thinking about it, why I can't focus. I am here to meditate. I'm here to focus on the breath. And now you see, mind is going away. And then finding a difficulties to focus. And then talking about it. Oh, why I can't. So the very moment when we ask a question, we are not in the present moment. We are going into our thoughts, going into our memories, going into our desire. Thoughts and memories and desire. And that's how we caught up into the cycle of chasing the time, running after the time. And then the whole time become wasted. And then punishing ourselves. I should have done this one. I should have done that one. I should have done this way. I should have done that way. And goes on. List is so long. And with that, mind becomes so disturbed. Consciously, we become very disturbed. And that leads to other physical and mental troubles. So we become very distressed, stressed, and goes on. So that's why when we are practicing, first that we able to recognize that this body that we think I am is not. This mind that I think this is me is not too. Now, the question is, who am I? Yeah. Who am I in the reality? And that is the real question that we have to ask. And if we dive into ourselves, we always have this doubt. We always have this question that what do I want? Who am I? What should I do? Is this looks like a familiar to us? Yeah, like that. So we're always trying to identify. Yeah? We're always trying to know the reality of who am I? And this normally, like in the past when I was in Thailand, during the retreat time, we are given the badge with the name on, right? So we are sitting on the cushion with the number and the badge with the name. The very moment, if you change the badge, you will be known with the badge, not by yourself, right? Same with when you are traveling, they will be recognizing you with your passport, not by you. Yeah. So where is the real identity of ourselves? Is it the passport or is it the reality that I am? Yeah. And that's the trouble too. So we always define ourselves with something from outside entity, and then we hold on to that entity as this is me. Yeah. It's like when you look at the mirror, we are looking at the mirror and the person on the mirror is me, but not this one who is standing in front of the mirror. Yeah. So we always looking ourselves from outside, right? That this is me. And the same with we are recognizing or identifying ourselves with so many layers. This ethnic group, that ethnic group, this nationality, this religion, that religion. And so many layers covered, this body and the mind becomes somebody that we do not know, but we know through something else. But deep down, we still question about it, right? And that's why these layers can be changed. Yeah, don't you think that we can change the layers, like the clothes that we wear all the time, different clothes every day? So that's why we can change our ethnicity, we can change our religion, our nationality. That's why we have, like, I have received the British passport after a long time. That's like another layer I have put it on to cover myself that this is me. But in a deep down, in a reality, who am I? And that can be found when we are diving into ourselves and knowing that the thing that I think I am, the body and the mind itself, is not me. Then who am I? Taking the all the layers out. So the practice of a meditation is to find that reality of ourselves, rather than questioning of who am I and what am I, and then looking through the different layers of covers. We are going into the deeper insight, the reality of who am I. And that's the mindfulness. And the very moment when we realize that who am I in a real sense, then there will be no trouble. And how do we know the reality? The reality is my body is constant changing. Yeah, my body is constant changing. I'm getting old. Accepting that I am getting old, right? So this body is getting old. Doesn't matter how well looked after. Doesn't matter how well do the exercise. Yeah? Day by day, we realize that energy is getting low. The flexibility and these things are getting more complicated. They're hard to do. I used to do this, but now I can't. Something like that. So this body is changing, constantly changing. And that's the reality that we have to accept. And this have to accept is something that it's not forced to accept, but we, with our own experience, realize that this is changing. Then we have no trouble, right? We simply accept it, and then we just maintain that, okay, now I am this way, so I just need to adjust a little bit, and then do things that I can do, not worry about, oh, I used to do this one and now why I can't do it. Right? And the same with this body in this way, and the same with our mind too, right? I used to be this good, I used to be that good, now I am changing, my mind is changing, perception is changing, attitudes is changing, understanding is changing, right? So in a psychology, it says we are learning every single moment. And every single moment that we gain the knowledge, we are changing our perception. And every time when we change our perception, that means we are changing our mental state too. So that goes into so-called the hard drive, long-term memory. It saves into a long-term memory. And that becomes another perspective of understanding the world or reality. So this is also changing, right? And when we understand that this body is changing, and this mind is also changing, then we realize that the reality of a me, in fact, is always in the change. Never been same, always changing. When we realize that everything is changing in constant like that, then why worry? Happiness is there, it's gonna change. Unhappiness is there, it's gonna change. It's not going to be same, right? And the problem is when we are happy, we don't want it to change. So we want it to be like that. So what are we doing? We are forcing the nature to be as it is, as I want it to be. And the nature is not that anybody can force it to be as somebody wants it to be. It is going to change. Right? So we have this thought of this is me, so I don't want it to change. And this happy moment, right? And that not wanting it to change causes a trouble. It causes a trouble because it changed. Now, what happens? Oh, why it's happening? Oh, this is not what I think. Oh, this is not what I want it to be. Oh, goes on. Now think about early on, I have said, this body we cannot control, this mind we cannot control, and we can't make it as we want it to be. What about the rest of other things? The happiness that we received from something else that happened out there and we feel pleasurable. We have no control over something else beyond us. That's changed. And further, further on, again, this moment of the happiness that we have received, if that's same all the time, again, that causes that causes a trouble too. Why it is same all the time? Why it is like this all the time? We become bored of it. We want it to change. Like we cannot eat same food every day. Can you? We can't. So the nice, delicious food that we have eaten supposed to be, that's the same dish that I want every single day. But we can't eat even 3 days in a row. We feel bored, right? We feel we will be complaining about it. I have heard the stories of somebody has eaten one type of a meal for some times, and they're fed up with it, and they never touched it anymore. Whenever they saw that meal, it like makes her sick. So like that. So we want it to change in order to be happy. But initially, we don't want it to change so that I will be happy. That's our grasp. That's our thought, right? And then if that remains the same, then again, we don't want it to be same. We want it to change. So that's the trouble again, right? And the same with the unhappiness now. Unhappiness and happiness is in the same coin, right? Isn't it? Right? And this is we able to recognize it, that how things are changing. And when we are able to recognize this change without any compromise or without any so-called conditioning it, then there is a pure acceptance. Pure acceptance, and that is the reality of ourselves. We realize that anything that is making me unhappy is because that has changed. Okay, something that we think shouldn't be changed has changed, and anything that is making us feel depressed or stressed, again, because of the inability of ourselves not to accept what the reality of the nature is. Okay, so practice of a mindfulness meditation is basically helping us to recognize that nothing remains the same. Everything is changing one after another every moment. Our mind is changing all the time. right? Our perception is changing all the time. Our thinking is changing all the time. And all that we are seeing is a reality. And that's me. So we're able to recognize ourselves. And with that, everything is fine. It's okay, right? Everything is fine and it's okay. And we will be able to let it be. And that letting it be is something that we are living here in the reality, in the moment, not in the past, not in the future. All what we are having is remembering that I am here with body and mind here. That's all. So it's basically like a stop thinking of past or of present as a future, but just being in here. And that being here is something that's precious, that gives us to know that how precious this life I am having. And each breath becomes so important that each breath that we are taking becomes like, celebrating our life. Okay, so that is the purpose of the practicing, to know the reality of ourselves. Okay, so I offer this as a reflection for today, and now let's practice again. Okay, so sitting in a comfortable position and practice meditation. I will guide you through, and after the meditation we will have a share. Okay, so sitting in a comfortable position, you may take a few long breaths to connect with yourself, and letting go of all other distractions. Whatever responsibilities or a job that you are responsible for, just let it go. And fully connect with yourself. Each breath that you're taking, experiencing the entire body. Feel the body. Grounding and settling down your mind on this body. And narrowing down this focus attention to the breath, which is the subtle body of the breath, body of the body. Breath is the body. And spend few moments working with that. Let's say you're working with the breath on your nose, incoming breath or outgoing breath, or the sensation of the breath coming in and going out in your belly, abdomen, rises and falls. So when breath in, it rises. When breathe out, it falls. So do not follow the breath if you are watching, observing the abdomen rise and fall. Simply observing as the belly rises and falls, without thinking of the breath or relating to the breath. Just the phenomena of arising and falling. So spend few moments on that object. Suppose you are paying attention to the breath at the abdomen. Each time when it rises, making a mental note or consciously aware of it and saying it is rising, and when it falls, it is falling. Or simply rising, rising, falling, falling. Now try to notice the process of the rising and falling of the abdomen. Do you think that you can take control over it? Do you think that you can make it rise all the time, or do you think that you can fall it all the time, or not letting it rise or not letting it fall? So it's impossible. You may be able to force it for some times, maybe a few seconds of it, to let it rise or let it fall, or not letting it rise or not letting it fall. But it's a reality that it changes, whether we like it or not. So mindfully, paying attention to this process, rising, falling, that is taking place naturally, normally, that we cannot take control over it. This is the reality. Now try to observe your mental state. See, now you cannot control this rise and fall, and there is sense of aware of it. It's like you're seeing it. Now you recognize it. Recognizing it, that this is inevitable, this is uncontrollable. It's a natural phenomenon that rises and falls. To recognize it. And now there will be a tendency or intention or motivation to take control or let it be. So mental state of taking control of this process or let it be. So all what we are doing now is mindfully aware of it, knowing it. the reality pertaining to itself. The reality is that it is constantly changing, even a small part of the body. The body part is changing. Mental state of observing it's changing, and perception is changing, knowing it's changing. And the body that we think this is me and mine, we realize that even just a part of the body, is the abdomen, is not me and mine. We cannot control over it. That's a natural phenomena that changes due to the condition. The same with the mind. Mind sees the phenomena that is rising or falling, perceives it, knows it, Now again, try not to analyze or try not to think about it, but simply observing the reality, knowing it as it is, like the simile of sitting at the bank of the river and watching the river flow. So observing the changing nature of the body, changing nature of the mind, how it is changing, and what is your reaction. Or simply resting the mind on this particular space and observing it. Remembering each time when the mind goes off, gently aware of that and bring it to the moment. Observing the primary object, whether you have decided to use the breath at the nose or the abdomen. Just bring it back and resting there. Resting, grounding. Do not blame or do not comment on mind distracted. Mindfully aware and let rests on the primary object. And slowly again, going in deeper to be mindful of this rise and fall, the impermanence, the changing nature. Not me, not mine. Or if you're finding it difficult to pay attention to it, simply observe the entire body sitting. Feel the sitting body. You may repeat the same process again and again. Do not think that you cannot move to one to another. Sometimes you may come back to feel the body sitting, resting in your body. Other times, resting on the primary object, the breath or the abdomen rise and fall, and observing as the mind drifts away to the thoughts and other distractions. And also cultivating towards understanding that how this rise and fall change, the mind that perceives changes, and how we are reacting to it. You can sift around. That sifting again should not be your wish. It should be natural. Naturally takes place, naturally happens. All what we are doing is to be mindful as it happens. As it changes. So remember to be mindful of the situation that takes place. And there is no wrong and there is no right. Whatever arises, we all just be mindful as it arises. And no question about it. Do not hold or do not try to push it away. Just aware of it as it is. Breathing in, breathing out. Now, as you hear a gong, slowly bring your attention to your eyes, watching the intention to open your eyes. And the third gong, slowly open your eyes and back to normal. Okay, so this is the practice. Now the floor is yours. You can share, or you can tell us what did you feel, or what did you understand, or just a kind of a recapping. How do you understand? So floor is yours. Whoever is ready, brave enough to share, can turn on the mic and speak.
May I?
Yes, Jonas?
I started with focusing on the breath, as you said, and I've been doing quite some breathing exercises since a couple of years. And first I was just focusing on it, and then suddenly I realized with the visualization, because I didn't do that so much, that there was so much more depth, that especially going down, breathing out, much longer than I even myself knew it was possible, and the other way around too. So I was like, okay, I can control it. And right in that moment, you were like, it's impossible to control it. So I was like, oh no, which one is it? Are we supposed to control it? Or, and then you realize it's not. So that was a little bit confusing. So, but I had to, I accepted and I carry on. And it was nice to know. It's like you said, you can force it, you can control it up to a certain point, and then you can't, because this is the range. The range that I think is like this is just much bigger if you are open for it.
Mm-hmm.
That was for me, just it kind of opens up to think that the range and the reality is much bigger than what you think when you open your focus.
Yeah.
And then I was sitting. Usually I sit one leg crossed in the lotus, and I thought, okay, today I change, I do the other sitting. And then I realized that my leg is getting numb. And I have the sensation like, okay, it's getting numb. If I stay like this, eventually it will die off. I mean, if I would come. So I was like, okay, you change it. And I change it. I let it loose. And you feel the blood going through, and it was just an amazing feeling while still being in the meditation. And then I put it back, and I don't know, it was nice to see that sometimes you have to change in order to make something better, even if the idea is I have to stay in this pose because this is yoga and da. So it was nice to feel that my body will also send me a signal to change, and then I have to listen to it. That was my
very good. Very good. Okay. So that means that you've been really aware of the entire process now. How the body is and how you're feeling, and I see the reaction. As soon as you reacted, then the change is also there too. And that also giving you some form of a comfort and relax too. Yeah. Yeah, like that. So it's and in terms of the breath, again, you see, the more we become a focus on the breath, we can see that how deeper it is and how wide it becomes. Yeah. And then the more we go into it, the wider our eyes, although we are closed, but we see so many different things happening. The opening, like I call it opening our inner senses to observe the reality that is out there, that's happening. Okay. And in terms of like sitting and observing this different sensation that comes, initially we are not supposed to move immediately, but after we have observed for some times and it's really the bodily need, then we are moving it mindfully. That's what you have done. So you first observed it and you feel that its numbness is there, okay? And that is not your wish to move, but that's the need of the leg, right? If you're moving because you want it, then mind is making a trick with you, playing with you. Oh, you shouldn't be meditating here. I'm feeling pain. Now I should change. So mind is asking you to change the body parts in that particular place to make you feel better. But that making you feel better is not yourself, but the mental need, the desire. Whereas what you have done, you observe that, and you observe the this you observe the sensation of a numbness and getting numbness, right? And then after that, you're mindfully changing it slowly. And this mindful changing allowed you to observe the blood flow. Okay? If you changed it because your mind wanted it, you will not be able to observe this blood flow. But because you're changing it so mindfully that even this little changes that blood flow, you're able to mindful of that. And you see, when blood flew through it, the happiness that it brought this happiness is like not a happiness of something that you received, but you have seen this, and that is getting the happiness. And that's same with other pains too. The very moment when we release it, and that releasing brings that such a happiness. So that comes through awareness. Right? So that's really, really good. Well done. Continue practicing. So it's amazing thing. You know, we cannot describe, but it just can be experienced. And practice makes us to realize that they change. Right? Good. Anyone else? Sarah, would you like to share, as you are the kind of new to us?
Actually, I felt honestly, it's happened to me before, but sometimes when I'm focusing on my breath and you know, the rising and the falling of the stomach, or just the breath on my nose, like coming in and out, and I'm there, and then I just, for like a few minutes, I just can't stop yawning, which distracts me a lot from the meditation. And then I say, it's okay, I will yawn, but it's a few times, it doesn't stop. I cannot do it once or twice. It goes on, and then my tears start coming down, and then I just come back to the meditation. And this happened to me now, in this, not in the first one, in this one. But it was good. There were some noises around me, but I managed to. I could also, when you were talking about the river bank, I could also imagine my stomach like a wave, going up and down like a wave. So I went back. And I realized also that I managed, when I get thoughts, not to anymore worry about them. just to go back. So thank
Good. Very good. Okay. So I just would like to add on that when we are yawning, rather than fighting with the yawning, let it yawn. Okay. Just to be aware that I am yawning. It's okay. And that acceptance automatically helps us to be back. Okay, helps us to be back into the moment, and then slowly it brings the attention to the breath. Okay, and again, this is very normal to every one of us. When we are a beginner, whenever there is a distractions, we feel annoyed, we feel unhappy, and we don't want to hear. And in our practice, we normally say, are you disturbing the noise, or noise disturbing you? Okay,
That's
so noise cannot disturb us as long as we do not pay attention to it, and we do not comment on that noise, and then we do not see that I am meditating, why this noise is there. So then that very moment, that noise become an object. Okay, and then there is a fighting that I am supposed to pay attention to the breath, not this noise. Okay, and this fighting begins and feel like, oh, what am I doing here? Okay, so that's why in the practice, what we normally do, that when we hear a noise, we mentally note that I am hearing it, not listening it. Hearing the noise, but not listening the noise. The very moment when we listen the noise, that disturbs us. But when we are just hearing, that won't disturb us. The background, that becomes the background noise, that won't disturb us. We will hear it clearly, but we will not know that what type of or what that noise is. Okay, and that simply, it will be more become a focus on the breath. And with that, noise will not disturb us because we are not paying attention to the noise. Right?
Yeah.
So that's how we can live in any places without trouble. Right? Like last week when I was in a hospital, some people said that there was a noise, the building construction going on, and they say that building construction noise making me distracted. I can't focus on it. I can't focus on the breath. Yeah? And then someone said, what noise? Yeah? We are in the same room. One person is disturbed by the building construction, but another one didn't hear the noise.
Yeah.
So what's going on? Right? So our focus attention is different. And after this lady said that she heard the noise, then I recollect, oh, while I was meditating, I could hear the noise too. But when during the meditation, I already forgotten that because I didn't pay attention to that noise. But as soon as somebody spoke, and then I realized, oh, that noise is there too. But that wasn't affecting me. That becomes simply an object that I have heard, and I have recognized it, but I didn't pay attention to it. And that's how it went on. Okay? Like that. So that's why I have this concept. No one can make me angry without my permission. So, and that same, we can use it to everything. Nothing can disturb me without my permission. Okay. So well done. Very good. Yeah. So yeah, practice makes perfect. Well done. Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Yes, Jonah. Yeah. Unmute yourself.
Oh, thanks. This is such a good thing that you say about nothing can make me or nobody can be angry without my permission. So then you can decide never to be angry, theoretically, if you don't want to be angry. Because
Yeah.
anger is a big thing in my life. For some reason, I don't know, but I get upset easily about things. So if you decide, of course, you can always it's like a blocking, I guess, to say, you are not going to make me angry. What if you're angry from within? You just tell yourself you're not going to make yourself angry. I don't know. Or it now in your case, if you say you use this, nothing can make me angry, or nobody can make me angry without my permission, that means you're never angry because you don't want to be angry. Is it true?
Theoretically, that should be true.
So what makes you angry still?
Yes. So things when that makes me angry, what I normally do is the reaction after I have reacted on that. So the moment when the anger generates in me, I pay attention to those reactions that happens in me, the physical reaction, the physical changes that takes place, like body heats up, the palpitation goes on, the breath changes, the speaking voice changes. That moment I am watching those, and these become object of my meditation that time. So I will be watching those rather than the person, rather than the incident. Okay? So with that, it subsides, or it just goes off without generating further anger towards that person or towards that it. There was anger because I didn't want it to be happen in that way. Now it happened, so I am angry, but I am watching it and accepting the reality and let it be. So like that. So anger is still in there with me too, but I would say the length of it shortened, and I do not keep it for a long time. And in Buddhism, we have the stages of attainment. There are 4 noble stages that can be attained. Okay, and a person who has fully overcome the anger is in the 3rd stage. Okay, and when somebody has attained the 3rd stage called anagami, okay, and then you have fully overcome this so-called patiga, or the resentment or the anger. Until then, we are bound to have this anger. Okay, and it is a nature. It is natural to be angry. And this natural to be angry simply because we are still wanting this, wanting that, fulfilling our wish, fulfilling our hope. And if that's not happening, then we're angry. We're angry with somebody, we're angry with ourselves. I can't do it because he or she is not doing it because, and he or she should be doing this because I want it. So there is because I want it. And as a result, when it doesn't happen, and there is anger comes. So that's why if we do not permit those incidents and those events to invade us in our mind, then we will not be angry. We see it reality. Okay, it happened. That's fine. Right? But normally we give permission. Why? Right? So we gave that permission, and then as a result, who suffers? I suffer. A person who did doesn't feel anything. Even they don't know we are angry too. So like that. That's why I call it, without our permission, no one can make us angry. And that simply applies to everything. Anything that disturbs us because we have given permission to disturb us. But if we haven't, that's simply just become something that doesn't relate to me. It's like a parent, like a mother or father. When somebody's child fall down, they don't feel anything. But if their own children falls down, oh my goodness, what happened to you, baby? Yeah, like that. So, like that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody? Yes.
Can I just share this experience also? Because it's quite
Yeah.
interesting, amazing, because it's different from what I have done alone at home. But then it's this time, even it's shorter, but it's a very good experience. So for example, I start with rising, falling, and focusing very deeply, and to talk about the voice, the noise outside also. Actually, I didn't hear anything. But then I start with shortly with a follow with the falling and rising. I see it differently, very short. And then at one moment is quite deep, like Jonah said. It's my first time that I can see it's quite so long falling, and I see it even stop. And then I see next it going to rising again. And this is my first time to see it stop quite long. And I focus, I mean, it's automatically to see. It's like we watch ourselves alone, turn it to look at ourselves, to look inside. And then I see it's not only falling and rising, that one. I see something else around me in my body. For example, like I see I hurt my throat. I see I have a headache, because it's jet lag and so on. But I don't follow that. I don't know how to use the word, but I just see it. And that's it just hurting, and at one moment go back to the primary object, which is rising and falling, and it's so focused on that deeply, very peacefully, and the mind is so calm. I don't know how to explain. It's like only me looking myself, and I don't see anything. And then one is become like I don't know how to explain. It's open. It's open. I hear the voice coming, and I see, have a voice or noise. It's like I didn't see it. I mean, in that moment, maybe you stop guiding, and it's so quiet and peaceful. So I hear the noise and something around, and it's amazing that I see or I hear the noise, but I also start hearing. But it's kind of like a layer of the noise. It's from my room, from my daughter's room, and another room is near my house. Deeper, but then I put hearing, and then it go back to my rising and falling again, and it's become like Jonah said, it's so deep, as it will stop or not, just watching, it's come back again. So we can't control, we just watch it like that. It's amazing moment also.
Very good. Jonas, do you want to say anything on Warapon's experience?
I'm just happy you had the same experience. this coming for me, it was like an elevator. I thought the elevator, and then the stopping is you can. I have that also, that you realize how much longer you can also make it stop. Until you naturally have to come. That moment, this can be much longer than we think. I think it's not just going up and down. There's it's like an object that was keep going like this. It's nice. It's very calming.
It's nice to see that, though. It's like we see something, and falling, rising is not the same every time.
Always
it is
different.
I don't know how to explain. It's amazing. Yeah.
Very good. Okay. So the falling, arising and a falling and a stopping, and normally in a natural form, it's in a similar distance or similar pattern. The difference that we see, do you know why? It's because our mind becomes so subtle. Ability to see the mind moments, that how it, so mind works so fast. And as a result of that, when we become so concentrated or focused and fully aware of that activities, then this little part becomes why it is taking so long. Right? And this is a physical pattern that moves, whereas our mind moves so fast, and we manage to see this mind moment, that how it is working so fast. And as a result of that, this material part, which is happening, arising and a fall, becomes slower. Okay, and this is the similar as like if you're watching a football, and when they scored, you can't see a ball going into the net, so you have to slow it down. When you slow the scene, and you see the ball goes into the net clearly, right? Okay, and that's the same when our mind is scattered, not focused. It's like the ball went in and we didn't see it. But whereas when our mind becomes so subtle and we become so aware of this moment by moment, then it becomes the material ball that going into the net becomes so slow, and we able to see every patterns that goes in. And that same similarly we can apply into our practice too. And that's how we see that this falling and rising and falling in between this very tiny moment becomes so long, because in this tiny moment our mind has changed so many times. Okay, the layer of the mind has changed so many times, and as a result we see why this little bit of tiny moment that between a rise and a fall becomes so long. Okay, and that's how we see that. And eventually we will be able to notice that little things, and that's why this part becomes very not concerned much. And this also we can practice in a walking meditation too. When we are practicing the walking meditation, what happens is that this walking meditation, normally we lift our foot maybe this bit, and then placing this bit. And this placing moment of this bit, of this length, when we are placing it mindfully, it becomes so long. Okay, so long. Why I'm not touching the floor like that? Even this, see, like this, if we are not mindful, we can just touch immediately. But if we become mindful, if you're moving it slowly, okay, you see how long it feels. You can try now if you want to. See, it's so long it becomes. If you're not mindful, it simply catch. But if you're mindful, see, it's so slowly it's coming, and it is a long time, isn't it? Yeah, it's a long time. Yeah. So this is how the mind works too. Okay, and this is how we will be able to recognize the moment of this mental state changing. And that's what I was explaining initially, that our mind itself is changing all the time. And this mind moment change is so long. And we can be able to be mindful of that. And when we become mindful of that little moment of this mind, then there will be no chance that any unwholesome or negative thoughts creeping in. Mind is fully aware of every moment that is happening in the moment. Yeah, every moment the mind is continuously aware of the moment that I am doing. And with that, there is no chance of any negativity creeping in. So in this way, our mind becomes so wholesome, mind becomes so healthy, mind becomes so energized. Okay? And with that, we will be able to comprehend the reality pertaining to itself of not just a material form now. We see the material form becomes not that important. Okay? Now it becomes important of our own mind, how it is moving, how it is changing. Okay? So we see, we are able to comprehend it in its true nature, true reality. Okay, so that comes with the practice. Well done. And then in regards to what you have mentioned about coming back to your rising and falling of the abdomen, and then you manage to be mindful of any other things whenever it arises, is there, and then you're constantly aware of that and not letting the mind goes along with that object is basically the strength of this mindfulness, or called sati, become a powerful. And as a result, you can make a decision whether to let this mind go or not to go with the object that came in. And you have a choice to keep, where do you want to keep this mind? Ability to define and then put it in the right place. Okay? And that is the practice. So that practice is basically knowing that where I should keep the mind and which is beneficial for me. And that's the reason I've been always emphasizing that we have to make one object as a primary object that is familiar, so that we can come back and rest at all the time, not letting the mind choose and goes off the object after object, but coming back to the home base. It's like you're going out and working and visiting and holiday. Eventually, we are coming back home and feel so happy and rests. Same in the practice of a meditation. That doesn't matter what it observes, seeing it, understanding it, letting go back to it, like that. Okay? Very good. Well done. Sanya, you want to say anything before we practice loving kindness meditation?
I think it's very important to keep practicing. And by not practicing, it's like not going to the gym. I think this analogy is very true. And I missed one session last month. So it has been quite a long time, and I'm not a very, very good student, so I hardly do it. But what happened to me today was that I think because I moved to the new place, so it's less quiet than the previous place that I was living. So it's close to the street, so the car pass by, people walk around. I hear them, but I also hear while you are guiding us, and I put my focus on breathing. And in fact, at the moment I feel like, oh, I'm very calm and I'm so happy, and I still keep doing that. But in fact, I realized that in my mind, I was almost dreaming. So everything happening at the same time, but still breathing, I hear you, and it was a full story, changing from one to the other. And because when I close my eyes, I have a kind of vision, but it's not really a clear vision, because you see all this color and thing, but actually it doesn't mean anything. But actually, so what I realize is that sometimes we're not distracted by our surrounding. We're just distracting our own selves with whatever it is in our mind, and it just comes unconsciously. And at some point, then I still hear what you're talking, and then breathing, and then I just breathing. So and then things just disappear and go back to a very calm moment. And then it goes on and on. And at some point, I think it was not coming back a lot. At least I can still really go on with it. So I think practicing brings, yeah, the only thing to do is to practice, because I think I know techniques. I heard about it, but actually by not doing it, it doesn't bring anything actually. So it's good to keep routine like this as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's true. I think at the beginning, Sarah also mentioned the consistency, the continuity. So consistency or continuity practice gives a lot insight into it. And even the tiny part of the practice each day, or sometimes we can see the difference, that how much we have understood and how much noise going on, and what needs to be done. And whenever we do with that, then we see the changes immediately. Yeah. And I think about, if we are practicing regularly and consistently, definitely makes a lot of changes. Yeah. So Sarah, we will take your words, consistency, and continuity practicing. So, right. So with this, let's practice loving kindness meditation. Anything otherwise? Anybody has anything to add on, or anything want to say before we do the practice of loving kindness meditation? Okay. So if not, then let's practice loving kindness meditation. And this is the practice that we normally do to finish off our session, which is very important to realize how much we need to love ourselves, and then also sharing that loving kindness to the rest of others. Okay, so with the gong, bring your attention to the moment, and we'll guide you through. So sitting comfortably, and relax yourself. Take a few long breaths just to relax the entire body. And feel the entire body sitting. And spend a few moments on today's session. Now we will practice loving kindness meditation. So feel the entire body. Feel the sensations throughout the body. And bring that attention to your hands. Feel the sensations in your hand. Do not move it, but be mindful of it. And bring that attention to your heart. Feel the beating heart. If you can't feel the beating heart, physically smiling will connect you. Or you can put your right hand on your heart to feel the beating heart. And as you feel the beating heart or connecting to the heart, generating loving kindness and compassion to yourself. Allowing yourself to be happy, at peace, and free from suffering. Mentally, you may recite, may I be well. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. So repeating to yourself, feeling the happiness from bottom of your heart. Feeling well and feeling freedom from all kinds of suffering, mentally and physically. May I be free from troubles of the body and mind. May I be liberated, liberated. Similarly, sharing this loving kindness and compassion to all other sentient beings, starting from near dear one, or any particular person that you think that they are really needed at this very moment. So bringing into your mind and sharing this loving kindness and compassion, whatever good things that I have accumulated today on this occasion, may this be cause for your good and well-being and happiness. Mentally, you may recite, may you be happy. May you be free from suffering. May you be free from hurtfulness, hatred. May you be free from troubles of the body and mind. May you be liberated, liberated. Similarly, sharing loving kindness and compassion to all other sentient beings, starting from near dear one, those who are around us, in the house, in the city, in the country, on earth, in the universe. Whatever beings there are, visible and invisible beings, regardless of their any backgrounds, wishing them to be happy, well, peaceful, free from all kinds of suffering. Whatever beings there are, visible and invisible beings, may they be happy. May they be at peace. May they be free from suffering. May they be free from troubles of the body and mind. May they be liberated, liberated.
นมัสการค่ะอาจารย์
May all beings be happy. Now bring your attention to your hands, aware of sensations in your hand and to your body. Feel the sensations in your body. Bring that attention to your eyes. And observing intention to open your eyes. And as you hear a gong, slowly opening, and the third gong reflecting back to normal. Okay, so thank you everyone. Wish you all the best. Wish you all have a good weekend and enjoy the moments.
Thank you.
Continue practicing. Okay.
Thank you.
Whereupon will inform you the next session. Next session may have to change from the third week because whereupon has to travel to Lebanon. Because of a special event. Okay.
Maybe I will see you, Sarah, in Lebanon.
Yes, I would
We
love to
will
meet you.
confirm. Yes, we will confirm. I will let you know the date for the next session, maybe next week. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
And,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Pra Ajahn, very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
have a good day.